Intifada.net, and the author of One Country, a bold proposal to end the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And Haitham has his book for sale outside if you would like to purchase it after the talk. All right, please welcome Abunimah.
I would like to thank the Palestine Solidarity Committee and the other co-sponsors of this talk, and thank them for the effort. I know this is a lot of work, and especially when you have so many other things to do as students and teachers. So it shows a real commitment to educating the community that you take the extra time to organize events like this, and I appreciate that very much. I feel like I need to start with some comments about what happened in Austin this morning, just as I was arriving, to hear that someone had flown a plane into a building. And of course, my instant reaction was, please, God, don't let it be an Arab. And it wasn't. At least so it appears. And it appears to be, as I was in the hotel before coming here, that there is one person, a federal employee, missing. It's not known what happened to that person, but I think all our thoughts should be with them and hope that it's discovered that they took an unauthorized day off rather than that they were a victim of this tragedy. But what struck me in watching the coverage this afternoon was how extraordinary it was that within hours, before many of the facts were known, the newspapers were filled with statements from government officials. I didn't have a printer, so I couldn't print them all out, but quoted in the New York Times and the Washington Post that this did not appear to be an act of terrorism. There was no terrorism here. And this assurance came from the White House. The White House issued a statement. The Department of Homeland Security, the Austin police chief, and others, that there was no terrorism. I watched a bit of Fox News, a bit of CNN, a bit of, did the rounds, and nobody used the dreaded T word. But what did we know about the event? That, of course, we have to take everything we hear with skepticism, because we know that the facts that emerge later are sometimes very different from what's reported at first. But the Austin American-Statesman posted on its website a letter or manifesto purporting to have been published by the pilot of this plane. It is a document you may have seen. Its authenticity has not been verified, but according to the Austin American-Statesman, the URL of the website was registered to the pilot and so on. It was quite a long screed, anti-government screed, and talking about the oppression that people face in the United States, particularly at the hands of the IRS, something that I think many of us feel acutely at this time of year. But that would never justify an act like this. One line that struck me in that manifesto, it said, and I'm doing this from memory, but roughly words to this effect: it is a lie that people in this country have stopped giving their life, or stopped dying for their freedom. And it appears to be the manifesto of a suicide bomber, or somebody who was ready to take an aircraft and fly it into a government building for political purpose. And to do it as a form of martyrdom. This is according to the testament which appears to have been left by this person. So we are confronted with the conundrum of this act, which fits what we are told is the description of a terrorist act, and the assurances, the strenuous assurances of government officials that this is not terrorism. And what that leaves us with, I think, is the conclusion that terrorism, or the term terrorist, is a racial term. It is not a descriptive term. It doesn't describe a set of actions that, if committed by anyone, would be considered terrorist. It is a racialized term, and that was so stark this afternoon. And I think it's particularly poignant in light of the alleged murders by Amy Bishop in Alabama, where we've had extensive discussion of what might have motivated her. None of them have revolved around her religion or her ethnicity or her politics. And you compare that with what happened at Fort Hood. Some of the statements that I read quickly this afternoon, Brian Williams on the NBC Nightly News said that the man who flew the plane into the building appeared to be a despondent man. He may have been a despondent man, but I mean, that's a rather sympathetic description that we did not hear about the Fort Hood shooter. And I just think that this is really something that is so stark and so astonishing that it has to make us question the climate in this country, because what strikes me is that there is increasingly a climate of incitement, of riling people up against government in general, against all sorts of things that in a sense, generates this kind of violence. And I just felt that that had to be said. But it's not entirely irrelevant, of course, to our topic tonight on Palestine, because keep in mind that this is always the way that violence, when discussed in the context of Palestine, is framed. That certain kinds of violence, if committed with white phosphorus, with warplanes, with death squads wearing Groucho Marx disguises in international hotels, if carried out by one group of people, are noble, are justified. But far less violence carried out by another group of people is considered atrocious, is considered in their nature. And this really, I think we have to think about the really racial framework in which Palestine is discussed. Now, in December and January, I joined more than 1,000 people who traveled from the United States. Was there anyone in this room who went to Cairo, to Egypt for the Gaza Freedom March, or traveled with Viva Palestina? I guess I'm the only one in this room, but there were hundreds of people from the United States and about more than 1,000 who went with the goal of breaking the siege of Gaza. And we found that we could not get to Gaza, the vast majority of us. We went with clearly announced intentions of traveling to Gaza as a peaceful, non-violent act of solidarity and civil resistance. Interestingly, it was in Cairo last June that President Obama had lectured the Palestinians on the lessons from the civil rights movement, from the struggles in South Africa, and recommended to Palestinians that they engage in such action. So we went to Cairo in that spirit, and we found that everywhere we went, we were surrounded by riot police, followed by mukhabarat, secret police. Sometimes our hotels were literally blockaded, surrounded by barriers and riot police to prevent us leaving. We went to the US Embassy on one morning,